I'm here with Anthony Jackson from the Currie Group and Enda Kavanagh from HP. Anthony is the National Sales Manager for HP Indigo at Currie Group, and Enda is, oh, got it wrong. What's your title again?
The Industrial Print Software Sales Lead for APJ. And happy
Industrial
Print
Print.
Day, Stephanie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And a happy International Print Day to both of you. Um, Before we dig into the discussion, I just wanted to acknowledge that it's wonderful to have you both on the show
Pleasure.
because we've just wrapped up the HP Indigo Digital Press Scholarship with Women in Print, which was supported and sponsored by both HP and Currie Group, where our cohort of 4 trainees were trained last week at the Currie Group Training Centre and Demo Centre in Hawthorne, Victoria. And it was fantastic. All 4 of them achieved a level 1 certification, and we're very proud of that. So thank you very much to Currie Group and HP for that wonderful work that you're doing with us. If I can lead in, Anthony, you've seen firsthand, I think, how important some initiatives like the scholarship can be. What are your thoughts on how these programs contribute to a smarter, more connected industry?
I think having the programs available and then promoted to the industry, and particularly as we celebrate International Print Day, is think it's all about education. And if people can learn more about how to use a better tool, be it a finishing device, a printing press, or even with the web to print, it's all about improving yourself day in, day out. So I find that it's fabulous to be able to offer these programs to develop that education, because the smarter we are, the better we work, the more productive we become, the less errors we have in our life, and it becomes less stressful. So I'm really wrapped that we can be part of this, continuous improvement and ongoing process of actually educating the market.
Fantastic. Enda, what any thoughts you want to add on to that from the HP perspective for being?
I think if you look at the generations over the last, say, 30 years, when I started in the industry, in the printing industry, the software space, like you had the digital transition, and then you had the internet transition, and then you got the AI transition, right? So we have to look at how AI is going to influence the industry in the next 5, 10, 15 years, and you can't ignore it. There's even, I saw a D-Scoop webinar seminar on using AI to do quotes and, getting the whole thing into the system quite seamlessly, just from WhatsApp, right?
Yep.
Now, if you look at HP, what they're doing, they call it IA, or intelligent automation. So that's really about getting everything through the factory seamlessly with as little touch points, but every system updated automatically.
Okay.
And when you sit down with customers and you go through like a 90 minute, how fit are you for digital Excel sort of question and answer session, there's so many hidden costs
Mm.
that management are not aware of, or they might be aware of, and they don't know what the answer is. There's so much repetition. It's really, when you think about it, it's about trying to get, from an e-commerce point of view, getting the stickiness from the end client,
Mm.
because nobody's getting 100% of anything.
Hmm.
So if you can get an e-commerce for your brands in your B2B, you'll get more. Statistics prove that through the factory. If you ask a customer if they could double the number of jobs tomorrow that they do today,
Mm.
would the infrastructure actually cope? And 99% of the time, the answer I hear is no.
Yeah.
So then we have a starting block of where the next 3 to 6, 9 months of activity needs to be.
Okay. That sounds very interesting. I'm thinking here of, we had some guests earlier today and they were talking about printing with intention and being intentional about using technology. So when we talk about Print Smart, which is the theme for International Print Day, and that concept of using technology with some intention, what does that mean in the context of the HP Indigo?
Right. So using technology with intention, we have examples. For example, the intention might be security, and we want to have a document that passes many different levels of security. So HP have actually, with their electro ink, it can have, there's about 20 different ones, and there's invisible electro inks now, invisible yellow, invisible red, where you need a UV light source to actually identify the print on the actual substrate. So it can either be a code or a name or a company logo, and this can be on either labels or it can be on documents as well, passports, for example. And the whole idea is using the technology with the intent of making the document more secure. Another quick example is we have easy release electro ink. And easy release is like, Stephanie, when you go down and you get one of those scratchies and you can scratch off the material. Yeah. So we can now print those using the easy release, and it's about a 14-step process. But the idea is we can actually have variable information underneath the easy release, which then can have a color or some other ink on top. You can use your favorite 20-cent, 50-cent coin or a penny if you're over in the UK and scratch it off. And the bottom line is using that technology with the intent of, making it a stimulating piece of print. And that, again, is where HP really come to the foreground, because they're always looking for new applications and new ways of actually making the print a little bit smarter. Enda, what's your sort of exposure to that type of applications?
I think if you look at the application and ask, what's the purpose of this application? Is there a way to change it? Is there a way to measure it? So in the ecosystem of HP and their Print OS, which is like your phone, there's apps for many, many things, but we've, compartmentalized them.
Tricky word.
Thank you. The Smart Stream Designer. So we can change content and make things variable and make things measurable. Maybe it's a short run for a premium wine and we only need 5,000 labels. So we can use the security that AJ was talking about because it's genuine, but also we can measure it. And therefore we can add value. Now, if you're giving your customers a better ROI by changing contents, our customers who are printers can charge more for us. If you're going to do 5,000 or 50,000 of the same thing, you might get a 1 to 2% response rate on a good day. If you're going to change and make it interactive and version it, variable, segmented, whatever you want to do.
Personalized.
Personalized,
that's the big
100%.
word now. Yes.
Absolutely. And I think, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, everybody now knows what QR stands for, quick response. And everybody does it. My pet hate is going to a restaurant and giving me a QR code. I'm in the printing industry. I want a menu.
I want to look at the food.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
But the thing is, our printers who are content creators, they're giving their brands a better ROI so the printers can charge, because you get a 7%, 10%, 19%. If our printers asked, how did they see the measurement of what they print today? And what is the ROI on it? 1 or 2%. So if they say, well, if I gave you 4%, you've doubled it straight away. But in the digital world, we have to educate the end customer with versioning. It's all well good showing samples, but show 3 different versions and have a story about it.
And talk about the opportunities and what that can do.
And look, it's about having open and honest conversations. Yes, you've been a customer for 10 or 15 years and you do well and the color's beautiful, it's all in Delta, blah, 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 SLAs, etc. But give them what is digital really all about.
Yes, and give them... We had several similar conversations again with our earlier guests talking about the unvarnished truth. We had a printer, Kirsten Taylor from Tailored Press, who came in and spoke to us, and she was talking about having those honest conversations with people at the beginning of the process, talking about, yes, we can do that, we can do that thing you're asking for, but would we want to, because it's not as impactful for your brand as what we maybe could suggest a different thing. And, a similar conversation to the designer that we had talking about creating print and variations. Again, talking about to people, yes, we can do all the whiz bang, we can do all the finishing, but why do you want to put 50 different finishings on a business card when you can have one that has a bigger impact?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, and it's those impactful, honest conversations which start from, I think, having a good relationship. That's the basis of the first thing, because you can't really have an honest conversation with someone that you don't really get on with.
No.
You got to have that good relationship, and
I
that
agree.
trust. So, Anthony, you've just come back from Japan, and I think Enda as well. Is that right?
Yes, we were there educating everybody on what's new and exciting and what to think about in 2026.
Fantastic. So, what stood out for you? What can you tell us about where the smart print market is heading, and maybe some key themes from your Japan trip?
Yeah, thanks, Steph. It was PrintOvation Commercial Open House Japan in October 2025, and it was 2 full days, Thursday the 2nd of October and Friday the 3rd. And it started off with where we went through why we're doing the PrintOvation, because it's all, again, back to the very first question you talked about, education. So whether we're educating operators to run a press more efficiently, we're now working with business owners about educating on what are the trends happening in the print market. Why should you look to invest in, for example, upstream workflow automation or new press technology that can provide a greater range of substrates you can print on, or better finishing, so you can actually get the cuts, the flat sheets out the door a lot faster. So the PrintOvation was really well received. I think we had, Andrew, about 65 people over the 2 days there.
With 65 from 9 countries.
Wow.
65 from 9 countries.
Yeah, it was huge.
And so we had wonderful market insights, a panel discussion led by the team over in Japan. We had a technology session where Enda took us through why customers are looking to get into workflow automation. Back to that original question, if we doubled the amount of jobs coming through tomorrow, can your infrastructure deal with it? Well, probably not. So why don't we build a foundation that can actually help you grow with the business? And then looking at, okay, well, what are the key points in terms of, the big things that businesses have on their radar? And one of the things is the shrinking workforce, because, 8-year-olds aren't thinking about, I'm going to go into the print industry at the moment. And they're not thinking about going in and becoming an estimator. And that sort of leads to Enda's discussion earlier about, using AI for estimation. So the PrintOvation was really a fabulous initiative by the HP team, because we actually got to go to 2 very successful customer sites, one in Osaka called Osaka Printing, and then another one called Obora Printing as well. And both are different. Obora is like 3rd generation print business. Osaka Printing started its journey in 2012 and then introduced digital presses in 2014. So they're only 12 years old. But here we have a company that had about, Enda, correct me if I'm wrong, about 9-10 digital presses.
Yes.
Through the business, doing a lot of finishing, unique applications on beautiful silver substrates with holograms on it. And then over at Obora, we saw them printing on a lot of clear substrates for specific applications in the Japanese market. And Obora was amazing because they've also gone down the path of installing and implementing the beautiful workflow solution called HP SiteFlow. So that's a nice entree for you, Enda, to talk a little bit about what the clients saw in that space.
Yeah.
Beautifully. My God, I couldn't have said it better myself. So the key thing for me was to give the audience the new HP strategy and direction. So last November, the new financial year, HP created this new industrial print software solutions business, which is specifically for software. Previously, it was hidden behind the Indigo business, but they wanted to separate it out as a new venture, a new P&L, and everything like that. So the ultimate goal is to have everything in your factory talking to anything in your factory. Not just the Indigos, the labels, the page wide, but the toners and the offsets, etc. But when customers want to look at automation, the HP solution is called SiteFlow. And SiteFlow has been around since 2015 in the HP community. Unfortunately, COVID came, so it wasn't really out there as a, hey, bang and whistle, come and see it at Drupa 2020. It wasn't there. But when a customer is doing, like a boarder are doing nearly 800 jobs a day through SiteFlow. Now, if you think of trying to do that in a manual, you'd have 20 pre-press, you'd have 16 hours of pre-press, you'd have 6 touch points. It'd be crazy, right? So the nice thing about SiteFlow is it connects jobs from any source, gets them through the factory to any printer. The payload goes back with the information to update the MIS and the e-commerce system all automatically. And all the shipping data then is tracked and measured and links into other ecosystems for telling the customer, here's your consignment note, etc. Right? But it also then allows customers who have SiteFlow to get into bed globally with other SiteFlow customers. So what we're seeing is brands don't want to print distribute because shipping is too expensive. They want to distribute and print. So the customer still has the stickiness with the brand. He's going to say, leave it with me. I'll find you an Indigo in Mexico and it'll be printed like for like. But the brand wants local content, local manufacturer, local labor, And then, of course, the third reason to think about automation, which is HP love, is they've got like 1,100 plus brands in their arsenal that want to distribute their brands and grow their brands globally. Now, everybody talks about Canva because that's the flavor of the month, but there's 1,100 other brands out there, Lookalikely, Lovebox, PrinterPix, you name it, right? So all of a sudden, that's the icing on the cake. So you bring it in to solve your day-to-day problems. You get introduced to the global SiteFlow, and that's really, the other SiteFlow family, which is the power of D-Scoop. Because when you go to the D-Scoops and you meet like-minded people, you start doing business together. And then the icing on the cake is the brands. And something happening next year in SiteFlow will be able for a PSP who has SiteFlow to go and reach out to these brands themselves and say, hey, this is what I do. I've got 2 presses. I've got a B2. I can do all sorts of cool things, etc., etc. So that was the message I needed to get across. Not only to the 60 customers, but to the 9 channels, including the Currie Group, who are in the Japan event as well.
Yes.
Amazing.
And just on that Japanese event, the second night, Stephanie, we stayed at the beautiful town of Kyoto down south, and we caught a bus that morning to Takashima. And now Takashima is a beautiful township on Lake Biwa, B-I-W-A, Lake Biwa. And that's the huge, you could fit Singapore or Sydney Harbour into Lake Biwa, and that's their fresh water source for all that whole region of Japan. But down there was the beautiful new factory and customer experience centre for Horizon, which is the Horizon finishing technology. And our 65 customers went in there eyes wide open, looking at ways they could actually take a flat sheet and then turn it into a perfect bound book, or fold a B1 sheet down to A4 sections, or take a whole 36 pages and turn it into a saddle stitched book. And they saw materials handling, robots moving pallets of stock from one workstation to the next workstation, loading that pallet of stock into the actual finishing machine. One example was the folding machine, and it took B1 sheets printed on an offset press and then folded them down to sections A4 without a person touching the paper at all. It was amazing. We then saw rolls of paper coming off the back end, going into a booklet maker. So straight from a continuous roll, cut down into cut sheets, and then turned into booklets, all perfect bound books. So the automation we saw there at Horizon was really an eye-opener, because all of our customers were saying to us, print's quite mature and everyone's happy with an offset press running at 16, 18,000 sheets an hour, a digital press like the HP Indigo 120 running at 6,000 sheets an hour, 100 a minute. But the bottom line is, it's the next step in the process, which is the finishing, where all of the advantages and the time savings can be made. And that's where seeing the automation and seeing the workflow, working with something like SiteFlow. So SiteFlow can actually then talk to Horizon's machinery as well, using their ICE platform. And that then allows full transparency from the business owners to know exactly where every job is in their business and where it is in the process of moving from, raw material sheet coming in to a beautiful book, full color, coated front covers, leaving dispatch. So that was an amazing 2.5 hours there at Horizon, and to really see their history as well, because they started their life very small as just desktop finishing devices, and now they're full on automated, integrated lines of finishing that can work on all different types of the back ends of presses, but also work offline as well. So, Enda, what was your takeaway from the Horizon session?
Look, I think for me, it was the future direction of where HP SiteFlow wants to integrate with the likes of ICE, with the likes of OFS from Hunkler, with the likes of Spencer Matrix, so you have one source of truth. And, if that one source of truth eliminates all the noise in the factory, then mission accomplished. So HP are actively working with these third-party downstream providers to bring it up into the one central portal. And the robots and everything, the way it just, integrates, reads the codes that SiteFlow puts on the slug line, so it knows where to go. It knows the next step, because complete measurability. So it just complemented everything of what the HP vision is for SiteFlow.
Fantastic. I have to ask of that discussion around the robots, the automation, the integration, how do you see these developments translating into opportunities now for Australian printers and providers?
I believe where the opportunities will come is similar to what we discussed with AI, and that's looking at AI, how can we embrace that and utilize it in our business? And it was a very good example, and it talked about the quotation or estimation stuff where it could be done in minutes, not hours. And that means you're getting back to customers faster. With the robotics, it's looking at, okay, well, what area could I introduce some simple robotics to start, facilitating the movement of jobs through my print business? And one of the simplest ones is probably just unloading stock off a pallet and then putting it into the folder, or taking the finished sections and putting it into the next process, which at the Horizon factory, it was a computer-aided bindery solution. So we've really found that, although it'll be a slow process introducing robots, we've already seen in the sign and display space whereby you have robots in certain businesses using suction and loading the huge, 2.4 by 1.2 meter core flute or whatever they're printing on from one section and taking across onto the flatbed. It gets printed, and then a robot unloads it at the other side. And we've got sites like that here in Australia using that workflow. We'll see the same type of robots starting to load book blocks into perfect binders, and then it's all barcode driven, so it knows what it's doing. It actually then works what thickness the book is, because it has it's not a caterpillar, but what's the measuring device called? Into the
Caliper.
Yes,
Yeah.
the caliper. So, and then it actually measure the thickness of the book block, make sure that when the cover comes through, it's scoring, the left and the right sides at the right spot as well. So all of these, I guess the intention is to minimize human involvement, because we all know through process control, if we can maximize the value add and minimize touch points, minimize delays, and minimize the transportation of materials through a factory, then we actually can add most value and have minimal costs and delays happening. So the robotics will gradually creep in. And when we actually, at Drupa, we saw the HP Indigo press being loaded by a robotic paper feeder into the high pile feeder. And then at the other end, at the high, the actual where the stock's delivered, it was then unloading it and then taking it off to the next station, which in this scenario was a laminating station. It would then get laminated and then take it on to the next step, which would be guillotine. Then it would be guillotine and then taken on to the next step, which would be a perfect binder, and they'd be loaded into the perfect binder as covers. So the workflow's there. It's just a matter of people being brave and saying, right, I'm now going to start and introduce this part into my business. And then that way, it happened in the car industry. And on the Saturday, we had some downtime, and Enda and I, with a few other special friends we had on the trip, we went to the actual Toyota museum. And there, like in the car industry, it was amazing to see the robots doing exactly the same with building cars, where it's a very mature industry and robots are everywhere in the car manufacturing process. We'll start to see a few more of them coming into the printing industry.
Sure, absolutely. So this one's back to you, Anthony, as well. Again, you're out in the field with customers. You with customers quite often, I'd say every day maybe.
Yep.
What do you hear or see from printers who have HP Indigos, and how are they using that technology to differentiate themselves?
Great question, Stephanie. And it really comes down to, sometimes I use the analogy like there's a plethora of toner machines out there, and I say it's like fuel. You've got 91 RON fuel, which is the cheapest fuel going around, and then you've got the 98, which is the the best quality fuel. And the Indigo output, it's still the benchmark. It's still the benchmark in terms of clients going, yes, that's the quality that everyone wants to hit. And so they differentiate through that process of actually talking about, well, the application. And if the application warrants that level of quality, then the client can differentiate. If it's just a simple job, then it's a tougher call. But the HP Indigo technology has what we call enhanced productivity mode. So that then means the press will print in just cyan, magenta, and yellow. And by doing that, it actually not only improves the performance of the press by 33%, because the drum rotates.
Performance is speed, is that what
you're saying? The speed, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But it also reduces the cost of the output, because it's only laying down cyan, magenta, and yellow. It's not laying down the black channel. So we get a reduction in cost, and then a faster sheet through the press per hour. So that's sort of a way of addressing, the different levels between what Enda and I favourably call Toner Town, because we came from Toner Town. We had wonderful careers in that space.
Yep.
But now we're with HP Indigo, and we love, I guess, the flexibility. And the other way people differentiate is through the use of special colours. As we talked about earlier in the conversation, there's about 20 22 different electro inks from the beautiful silver through to the premium white, the invisible inks. As Enda says to me, it's hard to know how much ink's in the can because it's invisible. And I say, good one, Enda, but it's the weight.
Gotcha.
Yes. And also the color enhancement ones. So you've got what we call orange, violet, and green. And so we can sort of hit about 97% of the Pantones by doing a mixture of CMYK, orange, violet, and green. And if a client actually needed a specific Pantone, like, for example, Coca-Cola Red, then HP in their ink manufacturing plants, one's in Singapore, one's in Israel, they can actually make up the particular Pantone. So it's amazing. The color range that you can get through these inks is just, it's like offset. You can make up your own inks, and you can either do that in-house or you can actually get it done on the B2 presses through HP. So they're ways of differentiating the output. The final other way of differentiating is the range of substrates we can print on, Stephanie. It's it really is unlimited in terms of if there's a particular stock we use, and they call it HP certified, so it runs beautifully through the press. And if it's an offset stock, we can always use a priming coating on the actual stock, and then that allows the HP electro ink to bond to the surface, and away we're running again. So fabulous range of substrates, and particularly what we saw in Japan, which was the clear substrates being used for amazing folder applications, and the quantity that they were printing was just phenomenal over there. And it was amazing. Enda and I noticed on the two different sites we went to, there was probably 60 to 70% females in the plants, as opposed to in Australia, it's probably the other way around. It's 60 to 70% males dominated. It was a lot more female dominated in the Japanese sites. It was an interesting observation.
Very interesting. I think it's also just, mentioning for that point about the Australian market is that I think that's also one of the purposes of the scholarship that Women in Print have put out or aiming for, is that we want to, when you give people opportunities, they will take them. And particularly in this last cohort, we had two people who were already operators, one being trained on an HP Indigo and one who had never worked on one, that worked on toner machines their entire apprenticeship. And we had two people who are not operators, a salesperson from Ball and Doggett from the paper and supplier side of the world, and they wanted to do the HP Indigo training basically to understand better what substrates run through the machine and why. That's why they wanted to do the training. And the person who came in, the last person, this is the one that is the most exciting for me, because this lady came through from, she's a graphic designer background. Her day job is working at a technical high school as a technician. So she helps with, the routers and cutters and all the other machinery they have. They don't have a printer at this high school, and they don't teach printing. But she's fascinated by printing, and she's got her graphic design background. And she was so enamored with the HP Indigo that she's actually considering an apprenticeship next year as a mature age apprentice.
Oh, fantastic news.
And for me, that is the win of the entire program, because we've got one more person in. Here we go, She's incredibly creative, this young lady too. She told me that she had made her own invitations for her wedding on a desktop printer, which she had hacked and utterly destroyed because she managed to get it to lay foil down and emboss and deboss. I'm like, I don't even want to know what you did to this poor little desktop printer to get it to do those things.
Work.
Yes. And she says, well, it doesn't work anymore. It's been destroyed. I'm like, I'm sure.
Taken on Marketplace.
Yes, But it's that creativity, that broad thinking, that, what can I push the boundaries of how I can do this? And she just absolutely took to the Indigo with a passion and a zeal that I think I haven't seen in a long time. She was so enamored, wanted to try everything. And it
Yes.
was fantastic to see that. So you mentioned briefly earlier about the quality, and I think, when I was in a meeting with other women in print, and someone from the signage world asked us, tell me about the HP Indigo. We don't know the Indigo. And before I could say anything, one of our printers said, it's offset quality at digital speeds. And they went, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. I get that picture in my head. And so, the HP Indigo has always been synonymous with that quality of printing. I think, Enda, you alluded to some of this earlier in the conversation, but, what are the conversations for you now from that HP Indigo quality basis, where you're now talking about flexibility, automation, and more specifically, I think the role of data in decision making?
Data is king, okay? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not only the data from the machines,
Yep.
but it's also the data from your customers and sharing the value of having data.
Mm.
So if we think about the letterbox experience, and people go to the letterbox, they look at it, they bring it in, they throw it out, whatever. But if it's personalized and it's relevant, it comes in.
Yep.
So by giving a customer a better ROI and statistics, because if they want to get into true measurements of this
Yeah.
data, and selling the data can be more powerful than selling the print. So it's about educating customers to not ignore data. So if they came in and said, "Hi Stephanie, here's my database and I need 5,000 copies." Okay, what do you know about the data? What do you
Mm.
want to know about the data? What
Mm.
is marketing doing about the data? So it changes the dynamics of the conversation,
Yeah.
but it then complements the story of what SiteFlow wants to do and track the data from any device and bring it into one source of truth. So
Mm.
it's like a two-pronged conversation.
Yeah.
But data is king, and you can't ignore it, especially now with AI. But the beautiful thing is that AI is going to make it easier, because
Good.
you can simply go, like, HP are now launching Neo. Neo is an agentic AI robot bot which will sit inside the PrintOS ecosystem.
Okay.
So an operations manager, a sales manager, and an owner can go into the PrintOS ecosystem, ask Neo, what was the best shift last Wednesday? How could I have improved my calibrations or my changing or my maintenance and reduce it by 10%?
Yeah.
Take all this data and give it to me in a pie chart or a histogram, because I need to show this to the board of directors at the end of the quarter.
Yeah.
All of that is done instantly.
That's
So that's
amazing.
that's just finishing beta,
Mm.
and it'll be live hopefully by the end of the year. We've got 250 customers globally
Mm.
testing it with feedback, what they need to see in it, what we need to do to streamline it and
Mm-hmm.
make it easier.
Incredible. That sounds fantastic. I can't wait to see it.
Mm.
So I think let's perhaps wrap up some of the conversations with two final points or questions. Um, Anthony, if you had to define Print Smart in one sentence from the Currie Group perspective, what would it be?
Smart would be utilizing the best available technology today to plan your business for tomorrow.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And Enda, a slightly different question as a wrap up. As someone who's just taught and demonstrated and seen the future of print innovation in Japan, what excites you most about where technology is taking our industry?
I think it's giving customers to say that HP is not just we don't just sell, we're
Hmm.
partnering, right? We're partnering. Now, when you look at the cost of labor and you look at the availability of labor and skill sets, software and AI will help businesses survive. The World Economic Forum at the start of this year said the prediction is that the labor force could shrink up to 20% by 2030. Now, that's people, getting older, retiring, and moving on. And there's none of the energy that we see coming in, apart from your beautiful story with that lady who wants to do an Indigo apprenticeship and stuff, right? But we know that there are other tools out there that will help factories and printing business survive with automation, and reducing all those touch points that we talked about at the end of the day makes every job more profitable.
Absolutely.
So I think it's an exciting time, and don't be scared of software.
I love it. So I want to thank you both, gentlemen, for coming on and speaking with me and
Welcome.
having this conversation. It's been very insightful and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And happy International Print Day again to both of you. I
And to
hope
you.
the rest of your day goes very well.
It will.
Thank you very much, Steph.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.